Hello everyone, this is Master Science 107 and I'm coming with you with a finally updated Dark Magician deck. And I know it's been a good amount of time since I last uploaded a deck profile, but I kind of figured why not? So I managed to make some improvements, and as you can see there's like a very big improvement as to what I have on the main deck, and let's catch up right on. Let me just move this out of the way real quick. So for now, for my main deck, I am running 3 copies of Magician's Souls. This card took me a long time to finally get, so it's extremely useful for the deck. Can get a free special summon once you send a level 6 or higher spellcaster from the deck to the grave, and you can either special summon it from the hand, or you can either send it from your hand to the graveyard and special summon Dark Magician from the graveyard or Dark Magician Go. And on top of that, if you have, let's say, 2 additional spells or traps when it's on field, you can discard that many, and then you can draw a card for each of them. So that's Magician Souls. And of course, the main staple of the deck, 3 Dark Magicians, not much you can really say. 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon for the Dragoon package, of course, which you really need. And in my build, I'm at the moment running 3 copies of Apprentice Illusion Magician. Now, Apprentice can search your Dark Magician as long as you discard a card, and bear in mind the option to search Dark Magician is optional, because it says in its text you can. So you can have the option to either search Dark Magician or not. And then during the battle phase, if they attack, or if it's being attacked, you can discard it from your hand, and then it'll gain 2,000 extra attack points. So essentially a Dark Magician bot for, oh no, it's like an honest for Dark Magician, that's what I meant to say. Sorry if I make any stuttering and all that, it's been a while since I last did it. And of course, in every Dark Magician deck, you need to run 3 copies of Magician's Rod. Not much else needs to be said, but just to keep it simple, he's the entire searcher for the deck. And if you want to, if you activate a spell or trap or effect during the opponent's turn, while this is in the grave, you contribute a spellcaster, which you most likely will, and add him back from your graveyard to your hand. Then I'm running 1 Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, searches every single spellbook card. And for hand traps, I'm running 3 copies of Effect Veiler. It's basically another imperm, which you will be seeing in a minute. Then there's 3 copies of Dark Magical Circle. Like the majority of most Dark Magician decks, you have to run 3 of this, and when activated, you can look at your top 3, reveal Dark Magician or a spell or trap that specifically lists him, add it to your hand, and the other cards can put back in any order. And when Dark Magician's been normal or special summoned, you can target a card your opponent controls and banish it. Oops. Then I play 1 Magician Salvation. You only need to play 1 anyway, because if you were to play multiple copies, like what, 2 or something, you're just essentially asking yourself for a break. And when activated, you can immediately set Eternal Soul directly from the deck. And it has an effect where if you special summon Dark Magician, you can special summon Dark Magician Girl and vice versa. So in my one, I only play 1. Then I play 2 Knowledge, which is essentially Pot of Greed as long as you send another spellbook card or another spellcaster from your field to the graveyard and then draw 2 cards. Then I play 2 Secrets, which pretty much just adds any other spellbook card from the deck to the hand. Then I'm playing 3 copies of Red Eyes Fusion. Red Eyes Fusion, you can either just use it whenever you draw into it for 1-turn Dragoon, or if you want to send it off a Verte Anaconda. And for now, I'm testing 2 Secret Village of the Spellcasters, sorry about that stutter, and 1 Terraforming. My one, I don't necessarily need to play 3 Secret Village, because you have this to search into either one of these, which is absolutely fine. And yes, technically you can use terraforming to search for salvation, which is also a field spell, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just always search for this, as Rod can also search it as well. Then as another test card, I'm running one Monster Reborn, as it can come in clutch whenever you have like a bad hand and can still make it into a one-turn Dragoon, which I have been testing along with just a Confit, but that's not in my deck right now. Then one Call by the Grave, in case you get hand trapped. And for traps, I'm running 3 copies of Eternal Soul. So for those who are new to Dark Magicians, the way how Eternal Soul works is that as long as this remains face up on the field, your opponent cannot target Dark Magician for card effects, or it can't be destroyed by card effects, but in its text, it says it's unaffected by card effects. However, there is a ruling when it comes to certain bits of it. So if your opponent were to activate a card or effect that would tribute something for cost, that would still need to resolve. So let's say, for example, you're going against a Lair of Darkness deck. The majority of the Lair of Darkness cards will have effects where you have to tribute something for cost, such as the field spell, and you still have to allow the tributing effect to resolve because it has to continue. So even if you have something like skill drain, the main effect of the monster would still be negated, but the tributing for cost effect still resolves regardless. So always bear that in mind. And on top of that, this can also act as a double-edged sword. So if this leaves the field, whether it gets destroyed or it gets banished, it nukes all of your monsters. So every monster you have on field will be destroyed, with the exception of Dragoon, because he can't be destroyed by card effects. And the additional effect for Eternal Soul is that you can either special summon Dark Magician from the hand or graveyard, or if you're playing as like a pure deck, you can add something like Thousand Knives or Dark Magic Attack, which I wouldn't do. Then I'm running 3 copies of Summon Limit, because if you look at the current format right now, there's like a bunch of decks out there that will spam a lot of monsters, so you need to run at least 3 copies of Summon Limit. Some people would consider play 2, but I most likely want to play 3 because I want to see it in my opening hand as much as possible. And as you can see, I have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This is like essentially the way better version of Effect Veiler, but if you want to get this card for like super cheap, you can just literally buy 3 structure decks if you want to from the Cyber Dragon structure deck. That's it for the main deck. And for extra deck, for Link monsters, I'm running 1 Borrelsword Dragon for now, as my deck doesn't really go into the extra deck as often, but if you want to, you can try to like cheese your opponent away from the game and all that. Then there's the 1 Verte Anaconda, which I know is most likely going to get banned for this next ban list to come up eventually. We don't know when it's going to come up, but it should eventually. But this one helps you get into Dragoon a lot more quickly, as once you pay the cost to send your Red Eyes Fusion or any fusion spell from your deck, as long as you get into Dragoon. And as another ruling tip, for anyone that tries to ash the effects to send a card for cost, you cannot do that, because the cost to send it has to resolve. Because once you pay the 2,000 and you send a fusion card, they cannot ash the card. You either have to use Veiler or Imperm on this card. That's the only way for you to stop this effect. Then I'm running 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Celine. Celine can get you back into your spellcasters if you want to. So once you know you have enough spells in your graveyard, you can pretty much bring back any spellcaster. You can even bring back Dragoon. But just to bear in mind, once you bring back Dragoon, it's no longer considered as a fusion summon card. You just special summoned it from the graveyard. So you no longer get the destruction effect to destroy up to 2 monsters on their field, because it wasn't fusion summon. You only get the negating effect. Then there's Crowley for the spellbook cards. 1 Link Spider for the Dark Magician. I would consider cutting this out for maybe like another card, which I will show you in like a few minutes or so. And then I'm running 1 IP Masquerena. Can help you easily get to Borrelsword if you want to. Link Kribo. when you get at least Magician Souls, or if you want to go for like an extended play. One Relinquish Animal. It's still a pretty decent card, not gonna lie. One Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. Pretty niche card in certain scenarios. I would rarely make this if I ever go into any one of my other Xyz monsters, which you will see in a few seconds. And Zeus has an effect where you can detach, I think it's about one or two materials, I think. Let me read a bit. Detach. Yeah, you have to detach two materials and send all other cards on the field to the graveyard other than him. But then again, if you have like a scenario where you have Eternal Soul and you trigger his effect to send everything, including your souls, he'll get destroyed as well. So be careful when you're using Zeus. Red Eyes Flare Metal to do additional burn damage, and you could bring back Red Eyes Black Dragon for like an additional extender if you want to. Number 11, Big Eye, just to take control of their monsters, and you can't attack once you use that effect. Ebon Illusion Magician, which allows you to detach a material and special summon a spellcaster normal monster from your hand or deck. And obviously the only spellcaster normal monster you're going to be summoning is Dark Magician. And like Dark Magical Circle, he has an effect where if a spellcaster normal monster attacks, you can target one card they control and banish it. Then of course there's the mighty Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Dragoon is a very strong card for this deck, although there are multiple ways to out the card, such as tributing over it with a kaiju, or using something like Dark Ruler no more, because Dragoon isn't able to respond to it once they activate Dark Ruler. And as my Super Poly target, I'm using at the moment my Predaplant Trophy Overton. Now, Trophy Overton requires at least 3 Dark monsters on the field, and once you summon it, it has an effect where if they were to summon anything from the extra deck, you can negate the summon and destroy it. Oh, and as an additional thing for Dragoon, he cannot be targeted by card effects, he can't be destroyed by card effects, and you can destroy up to 2 monsters your opponent controls, up to the number of normal monsters that was used to summon it, and they take damage equal to its original attack points. And if they were to activate a card or effect, you can discard a card, negate the activation, and destroy it. And once you destroy that card with Dragoon's effect, it will permanently gain 1,000 attack points. So you could potentially get this card up to like, what, 5,000 or something next turn. And lastly, for my side deck, so let me just organize this real quick. Main deck extra. Side deck for now, I'm running 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. So Nibiru is a very, very strong card when it comes to combo decks. But the bare tip you should keep in mind is that when they're extending, you have to wait to a point where they don't have one monster that can negate, like Appaloosa, or it's that one synchro monster, Herald of Arclight, that's it. As long as they don't have one of those, you could still probably activate this as long as they don't have a negate. Then I'm running 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. This can be quite useful if you don't have any cards in your graveyard, which is the requirement to do so. So if you haven't sent anything there, you can't use this. And it pretty much acts as a macrocosmos once it's been active. So, and it only lasts until the end of the next turn. And funny enough though, you could even use this if you want to use something like navigation, but you don't really want to do that. Even though, yes, it is a dark spellcaster, you just want to use his main effect. Then I'm using 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Can be quite useful if you're going against a deck that's primarily full of darks, like Shadows. Or if you're going against a hero deck, which would most likely end with something like Malicious Bane, 2 Dark Laws, any of that. Then I'm running 1 Harpy's Feather Duster to get rid of any background removal. Same thing with Cosmic Cyclone, but you have to pay life points for that. And lastly, 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier can be useful depending on the type of deck you're going against. Like, if you're going against Sword Souls, they're most likely going to Synchro Monsters. Or, most commonly, if you're going against something like another fusion-based deck, that could immediately stop them. So, it can be Very useful for them type of scenarios. And two additional cards which I was considering on using, which was either my Starving Venom Fusion Dragon or Diabolosis the Mind Hacker, but I'll think of something eventually. And that has been my Dark Magician deck profile. So, hope you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and hopefully once this deck is fully completed, because I don't have everything, the last card I'm missing for the main deck is some Soul Servant, and additional staples I'm missing is also things like Evenly Matched or so. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and turn on notifications. Bye bye.